Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me this week. I'm titling this, I changed it from what I had earlier. I'm titling this podcast, The Journey of an Emotional Eater. And one of the questions that I asked all the time mine went like 40 years, but for when I really knew that there was a problem and I knew I needed to address it, it really actually wasn't 40 years, but it felt like it. When I realized that I had an issue, that I had an issue with food, that I had an issue with my eating, that what I described it as an eating disorder because I felt like I was my eating was disordered. I was not eating like what I considered normal people to eat like. And when I really actively started okay, how do I figure this out? What do I need to do? And worked with my life coach and started doing different things. Um, all I wanted to know was, oh my gosh, how long does this take? Like somebody tell me, is it 2 weeks? Is it 2 months? Is it, 6 months? Is it 8 months? Because then I could go back and I could say, okay, I'm 6 months in. Okay, I should only have 3 months to go. And then all of a sudden everything's going to be okay. And I really felt like I was hearing some of the conversations and reading some of the conversations in the Facebook group about people asking like, how do you end this? How do you end emotional eating? How do you end it, and how long is this going to take? What is the time frame? And so I really felt like it was necessary to tell you all, to share with you my views on it. And you don't have to agree with me, and that's totally fine. But I'm going to share my views on the components of what it takes to address and learn to manage your emotional eating. And that's how I choose to phrase it. It's what I chose to write as a subheading for my book, A Food Addict's Guide to Managing Emotional Eating. I purposely did not use the word ending, and I did not use the word stopping. And that was done on purpose because I have certain feelings about that, and we will get to that. So, on today's podcast, you are going to learn how long it truly takes to transform your life. And that's in any area that you want to change. And I'm going to tell you, yes, I'm not making this up. There have been studies done as to how long this does take. So there is science to back it up. The second thing we're going to talk about is my personal beliefs regarding emotional eating and whether or not you can end it, because I do have very strong feelings about that, and I will go into more detail about that. And then lastly, the most important thing that you can do right now, and you can do it right now while you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, and you can do it right now, you can do it afterwards, but what you need to do right now to get your mindset in the right place for you to even be able to address it and to start moving forward. Because I think this is the thing that holds people back more than anything else, is this one thing. When they can't let it go, it's like cement shoes. They just cannot move forward. So we're going to talk about that. So again, welcome to those people who are listening on the podcast. Great to have you here. We are live, as we are every Wednesday, in the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community on Facebook. If you're not a member and you're listening, you're not a member, please join us. How do you find us? Oh, www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough. And you can join an amazing community of individuals who so supportive, so encouraging, so motivating and inspiring. It's just an amazing community, and I'm honored to be a part of it. So thank you for everyone who is live in the group right now. This is our little special meetup time every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you come into the group, you'll always want to be on the podcast because they are a party. So I really want to dive into this particular topic of the whole idea of like having a time frame and having a window of like, what does this look like how long is this going to take, am I ever, and is this going to go away? It was really interesting to watch a post in the group and watch the comments that were being made about whether or not this this emotional eating thing can ever be, eradicated and eliminated and ended, stopped. And one of the things that I think as a society we are a little bit dangerous in is making everything very finite. It's like, I'll never do that again. Don't ever say that. Don't ever say I'll never do something, or never ever. We always have to be careful of that because that can set you up for disappointment. It can set you up for shame, and it can set you up to create a lot of negative self-talk surrounding how you're feeling about yourself. So we definitely need to be wary of that. So when we when we look at, we have 3 points that we're going to talk about. So the first point, this is about the time frame. This is about the guidelines and the where your journey begins and where it's going to take you. So to make a true transformation and to change your life in any area, there are kind of 3 phases that you have to go through. And these phases all take time. So I always, for those people who are in the group, I posted a question earlier this week about how long have you been dealing with emotional eating? And for many people, for most of the people who answered, the 3 options were, it's recent. Second option was 10 to 30 years. And the last option was all my life. And a majority of the people commented all my life. So y'all, all my life, it's not going to take 3 months. It's just not. You're talking about ingrained habits, thought patterns, beliefs about yourself. And that's really what I deal with as a coach. That's what I work on. I don't work on, I mean, we talk about the food stuff, but I don't work on the food. I work on your beliefs about yourself, about your capabilities, about who you are, and about what you believe you're capable of being. And all of those things stem from your thoughts. And so that's really what I deal with as a coach. And that's what I teach people to learn to manage themselves. But there's those 3 phases. So the first phase is the habit phase. And so adopting habits is really about getting an outcome. So when you adopt habits to lose weight, that's habits that lead to an outcome, and the outcome is weight loss. If you are wanting to write a book, you are doing you're setting up your timelines, you're doing your habits of writing every day, you go through the process, and in the end, you have an outcome, and that's a published book. If you are a coach and you are a coach of a basketball team and you want to win a championship, you're going to make it a habit to have your team have practice, and they have schedules that they meet, and the kids have to do certain things, and you move them forward with those habits, and then you get an outcome, and there's a championship, and then it's done. And that's where habits are great and they lead you someplace, but they don't necessarily take you all the way. They take you to someplace where you get that outcome. And that outcome is awesome, but it gets you to an outcome, which oftentimes has an end to it. So that the process of habit building is about what you get. And that process can take anywhere. There's a number of ranges that people give, but that can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months just to get the habits, Then we have the second phase, and the second phase is where your habits then combined with systems that you create, and that creates a lifestyle change. So your lifestyle becomes different because of these habits that you have created. And so all of those things kind of come together, and the habits then become your life starts to fit into your habits. So, for instance, an example of that could be people who ordinarily just go on vacation and just, um, they go on vacation, they sit on the beach. Well, suddenly, if they're making a lifestyle change where they want to be healthier, they're now going on active vacations. They're going on vacations where they're going to hike Half Dome in Yosemite, or they're, going on a biking trip or something to that effect. Maybe a lifestyle change would be you have a habit of working out. So now your lifestyle change becomes you meet friends for coffee. Or sorry, you meet friends for a walk instead of meeting for lunch or meeting for coffee. So it becomes more that active, that habit of activity now is kind of morphed over and has become a part of your lifestyle. And that can take that is about what you do. So that process, that lifestyle is about what you do. That takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months to really get that ingrained. Okay? So I'm hoping that you're hearing me when I say habits, 3 to 6 months to really get them dialed in. Then it becomes a lifestyle. That then takes 12 to 18 months. And then we have our last phase, and our last phase is when it becomes your identity. And your identity is then it is a part of who you are, and it is something that you can't even imagine doing anything without that being a part of who you are. So it again, others see you see yourself in this way, and others see you in this way as well. So like an example of this would be an example would be like Will Smith. So I'm thinking of Will Smith. And like Will Smith at first was a rapper. He was a rapper, and then he started to be on television. He started to be on a television show. He became an actor. And then eventually he became that other part of him kind of disappeared, and he morphed into, after years and years of doing the work and being an actor and being in movies, now he is only seen as an actor, where previously his identity was very different. So again, it wasn't like he got into his first, which by the way, his first show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, great show. If you don't watch it, you really should. um I'm sorry, my my dog has just, sorry, knocked out my microphone. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah. Sorry, technical difficulties here. We're having an argument. Um, stop. Stop. So get back to it. Now I get to do some editing. Um, so that is that development into that identity. And again, that phase can take anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Okay? So for my journey, I am on just about year 3, and I feel like, yeah, like this is who I am. I still an emotional eater? 100%. Do I have it managed? Absolutely. Absolutely, I have it managed. Do I have times where things don't go the way I planned? 100%. And I have learned not to let that devastate me. So for example, um, about I'm going to say 6 months ago. About 6 months ago, I have what I called the cashew incident. And I wrote about it. I posted about it in the group. And I posted about how I was at my parents', and I can't remember anything specific about what happened, but I do remember that I was going to emotionally eat, and cashews were going to be my thing. And I finished the weekend feeling so sick and feeling so, initially I was so disappointed. And then I reminded myself, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You teach people that we don't beat ourselves up, that we don't get, we give ourselves a break. We're kind, we're graceful, we are gentle with ourselves. And I had to be the same way with myself. And it was very, very hard. And that was one of the reasons why I posted about it was I wanted people to know that this stuff happens, that you have backslides. I still have backslides. It happens, but I continue to move forward and I continue to adjust and adapt and learn from them. So why am I even telling you this? So I want I'm seeing people being frustrated with not making progress, and I want to make sure that you understand that progress is happening every day when you are trying. When you show up, that's progress. And it might just be an itty bitty tiny thing, but every day it compounds. Every day you're making those little bitty changes. And when you're in the middle of making them, it doesn't feel like anything's happening, but it's happening inside. And you have to trust that. You have to trust that that's happening. And even when you have those hard times and you backslide and something happens, change is still happening. It's when we give up, that's when the change doesn't happen anymore. So we can't give up on ourselves. We have to just keep pushing, keep going at it, keep trying, and always learning from what we do. Getting angry at yourself and the process won't change what's happening. Getting angry at yourself or the process will not change what is happening. So and again, especially getting angry at yourself, that will not do any good. So you have to remember that this is part of the process. That when things don't go smoothly, when you have a bad day, when you overeat, that's part of the process, and we learn from that. Um, Trying to get through the habit phase, because that's the first phase, and that's usually the hardest. And that's when people give up. You have to have kindness and compassion with yourself. 100%. You have to. You have to, because that's the only way that you're going to get through it. And please don't pretend that you need to be perfect or that perfection is something that you're striving for. We are always progress over perfection. And we have to remember that perfectionism and self sabotage are sassy sisters, and they will always go hand in hand. So if you have any sort of bend towards perfectionism, you need to be very, very aware that self sabotage will sneak its way in, because it perfectionism really, if you don't do it right, might as well not do it at all. And that just sets you back. And then you're not trying. And then you have to give up. Then you give up. And that's not where we want anybody. So remember, we all have slip ups. We all have things that happen, but we have to remember that we have to give ourselves that grace. We have to give ourselves time and time to absorb the information. So thinking that I'm going to do the 21-day jumpstart, it's called the jumpstart for a reason, y'all. 21 days, 21 days is just dipping your pinky into the pool, but it's exposing you. It's taking a step. It's moving in the right direction. It's not that I don't think that's valuable, because I do think it's valuable. I think anything you can learn is incredibly valuable. But you have to know this is that first step. This is that long haul, and it's okay. It's okay that it's not perfect. It's okay that it's bumpy. Everything that's worth it is bumpy. It's just not, that's just the way it is. All right. Second thing, my beliefs about this whole emotional eating, eating disorders journey, all of it. So I'll start with a story. My last therapist, the last therapist I've had, and I tell this story in my book. Um, Came into a session just so mad, so mad, so mad, so frustrated. Came in already on the verge of tears, because I had a binge the night before, and I came in and I was so irritated, and I just said, God, when is this going to end? Like, when is this going to be over? Like, I'm so tired of this. And she said to me, and I will never forget it because I was so mad at her. I was so mad at her because she said it. But she said, like, oh my gosh, Kristen, you didn't know? I was like, what? And she said, it's not going to end. And I looked at her and I said, "Oh my gosh, please don't tell me that." I'm like, "What? Don't say that." And what I really wanted to say was, "Can I have all my money back?" But I didn't. But we just, we talked about it, and she said, this is a part of who you are, and you will always have that tendency. You will always have that as a part of you, but you will learn every time to get better at managing it, to get better at how you respond to it, how you react to it. And then before you know it, you're going to be able to anticipate before it happens. And you're going to be able to anticipate and see what's going to, how you can sidestep it. But otherwise, to be upset and to be angry just doesn't really work. So it's important for me that that my belief, and as I said in the beginning, my belief is this doesn't end. This doesn't stop. We don't eliminate it. We learn to manage it. We learn to manage it. We learn to manage the feelings. We learn to manage our emotions, because y'all, we're not getting rid of our emotions. We're not getting rid of them. They're always going to be there. And so you have to accept that a part of being a human being is having emotions, and you will learn to manage them like anything else. I put it on the same um, kind of um, plateau, or level, as it is an addictive behavior. And addictive behaviors they can absolutely be controlled, they can absolutely be managed, but do they always completely go away? I don't think so. And so for me, and the reason why I say that, and the reason why at first I was really angry with my therapist, and then it was so weird, because I suddenly felt this incredible rush of like relief. Like we were talking, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh. So like I don't suck. And she would looked at me and she's like, "What?" And I said, "I don't suck. It's not that I don't get this. It's that I'm doing everything I can, and it's okay that this still doesn't go away. It's not like I kept blaming myself. I kept thinking there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't getting it and I wasn't doing it right, and that I was broken and I couldn't figure this out." And I realized that, oh no, if this is just part of who I am, oh, thank goodness. Okay, I'm doing the best I can, and that's all I can do. And that's great. That's perfect. That's what I that that's the best that I can do. And so then I knew that I could show up every I knew that I could show up at every time. I knew I could show up. Somebody is just trying to steal the show from me here. Um, I knew I could show up and be okay with how I was doing it, because it was the best that I could do. And it was okay that it was okay if it didn't work out. Okay. Last thing we're going to talk about. Oh my goodness, y'all. This dog, I'm telling you. All right. So, the most important thing you can do, and this absolutely has everything to do with what I just talked about. So, one of the things that I feel like most people do when they have when they have something about themselves, something that they want to change about themselves, is they feel like they hate that part of themselves. that for me, for a long time, and I think I can speak to many people who know me, who've known me for a really long time. um I really like didn't like myself, like really didn't like myself. I'm gonna try not to get emotional. And it was because there was this whole part of me that I hated, like the whole part of me that didn't have any self-control and couldn't control herself around food, and why did everybody else know what to do and I didn't know? And I hated that part of me, and I wanted to get rid of it, and I wanted it to go away, and I wanted it to be done. And the one thing my therapist told me on that in that same session was, she said, "It's not until you embrace and put your arms around that part of yourself, that you will finally be able to move on, because you're hating that part of you, and nothing good ever comes from hate. Nothing positive, no steps forward come from us hating something or hating someone or hating a part of us, because all we do is we just fight it because we're so angry. And it wasn't until I let go of my desire to eradicate that from me and eradicate that from who I was. And that would be taking away a part of my personality, to take a part of who I am as a person. And I don't ever want to do that. I don't ever want to take that away or ever say that I hate that part of me, because that's not anything I don't would never want any of you to do that. And I don't want to do that. And so it really taught me that I had to love that part of myself, and I had to be kind to it, and I had to be gentle, and I had to let that part of me be. And it wasn't until I did that that I then was able to be like, okay, I get it now. Like now we can start taking steps, because otherwise I was just so angry. I was so angry all the time. And I know that that's the piece that I think a lot of you are missing, is you feel so much hatred for yourself, for that part of you that you can't get a handle on. And it's not until you accept that that is part of your beauty, it's part of who you are, it's part of just your uniqueness. And it's not until we embrace that and we love, and I know when I say love that, I know many of you are like, I can't, how can I love that part of me? Well, you can, because it's you, it's who you are. And that can never be a bad thing. We're never a mistake. So that's the piece that I feel like most of you really need to work on, is that whole piece of, I have to start being okay where I am right now. So maybe you don't say, I love that part of me, but at least you can accept that that's part of who you are and you're okay with it. Doesn't mean you want to just stay there, but it's, you're okay with it. And that's a first step. You're okay that that's a part of who you are, and you're working on it. And you're working on making that part maybe a little bit different, but it's not hating it. It's not saying we want to get rid of it, because it's who you are. So that's the piece. That's the one thing that I would really like everyone to really think about and work on, is that how can you accept and own and be okay where you are right now? Because when you do that, then you can move forward. But until then, you've got those cement shoes on and you're not going anywhere. All right. Those are my 3 points. I don't know if you all can hear the heavy breathing that is going on next to my microphone with my dog. Oh my goodness, somebody needs a walk. Big time. All right. Um, so I am going to sign off. I appreciate you all so much. I will jump over into the Facebook group and say hi to everybody, because I know there's been some comments written. I want to make sure I get back to those and comment to those. So thank you all for joining me for the podcast. I appreciate it so very much. Again, if you are not a member of the group, please come and join the group. Again, just go onto Facebook, search groups, Breakthrough Emotional Eating, and become a part of our group. You can also, again, just search for me, Kristen Jones, Kristen with an I. If you just want to reach out and you have any questions or any concerns or something that you need to talk about, if you're on the podcast, all my contact information is with the podcast as well. So please reach out and let me know if there's anything I can do for you. I really think that this is a huge step for many of you. I think that so many people are bypassing this acceptance of, one, this is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be quick, but it's worth it. You're worth it. And you have to be okay exactly where you are. That's the first step you have to take in order to be able to move on. Okay. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me. And I will see you all next week. Hopefully, I will take my dog for a walk before we record the podcast. All right, y'all. Thanks so much. See you next week.